Hey, I'm golf broadcaster Matt Adams. The updated and expanded second edition of my book, The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments, is now available. Readers can expect to march with Arnie's Army at the 1960 U.S. Open, relive Jack Nicklaus's remarkable 1986 Masters win, and be amazed by the Tiger Slam. The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments. Pick it up where fine books are sold, including BarnesandNoble.com and Amazon.com.
This is Basketball History 101 with Rick Loayza.
Welcome back to Award-winning Basketball History 101, part of the Sports History Network. I am your host, Rick Loayza, and this is the podcast where we bring to life some of the forgotten stories from basketball history. We are bringing old-school basketball to a new-school audience. And today we bring you the story of the high school career of Lou Alcindor, who is known today as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He was one of the most hyped-up high school players of all time, and I mean that literally. He was constantly in the newspapers and having magazine articles written about him. The fact that he grew up in New York City, the media capital of the United States, made it easy for him to be national news. Even other Hall of Fame players were predicting greatness for this young man. And I have wanted to do an episode on Kareem ever since we started this podcast during the summer of 2020. As many of you know, I grew up in Southern California in the 1980s and completely jumped on the Lakers train. It was around 1985 when I was changing the channels on the television and I stopped on a Lakers game and I was utterly mesmerized by what I was seeing. Now, the player that consumed most of my attention was Magic Johnson, who is still my favorite player of all time. But Kareem was a close second. The thing about Kareem was that even though he was no longer as fast as he used to be or jumped as high as he used to, he could still cause trouble for other much younger centers in the league, and he still had his patented sky hook. He did have to put more of an arc on the shot to get it over the defender's outstretched hands, but he was still good for over 23 points per game at his advanced age. It was later that I learned more about Kareem. For example, I learned that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was not the name he was born with. He was born Ferdinand Louis Alcindor Jr., but he went by Lou, and he also went to college at UCLA where he won 3 national championships in his 3 years in the varsity, and was the 3-time National Player of the Year. Now, keep in mind that I was about 12 years old when I started reading about basketball history. But before all of that success in the NBA or at UCLA, he was one of the greatest high school players to ever come out of New York City, or anywhere else for that matter. And that is what I want to get into today. I want to share about his time in high school. Now, he was born and raised in New York City, as I mentioned. He was an only child to Ferdinand Sr. and Cora. His father's family was from Trinidad, and Ferdinand Sr. was also a gifted musician who graduated from the Juilliard School of Music. By day, he was a police sergeant. By night, he would play in various jazz clubs for some extra money. The Alcindor home was full of books and music. Now, young Lou literally stood out in a crowd as he was already so much taller than the other kids. Even at age 5, he was already a head taller than the other boys in his kindergarten. By the time he started high school at the age of 14, he was already 6'8" or 203 centimeters. He was extremely coordinated, quick, agile, ran like a gazelle, could jump, and was incredibly intelligent. He was given a scholarship to attend Power Memorial Academy. It was a Catholic school with a strong academic reputation, and this was great for the Alcindor family as the family was also Catholic. Power Memorial also had one of the best basketball coaches in the city in Jack Donahue, and it made sense for young Lou to go there. He proved to the coach to be an extremely coachable player, and he worked incredibly hard on his layups, hook shots, turnaround jumpers, footwork, balance, everything. Young Lou was committed to turning himself into the best player that he could be. He had every physical gift that a basketball player could ask for. As a freshman or a first-year student, he only averaged 13 points per game, and the reason was rather simple. His teammates did not pass to him, and I'm not sure exactly why that is, but my best guess is that they wanted to score themselves and not let Lou have all the points. However, Lou scored on putbacks and tip-ins. His team finished with a respectable record of 20-7. Now, for his second year in high school, or sophomore year, he had grown all the way to 6'11" or 211 centimeters, and he was only around 15 years old, and the hype around Lou was reaching epic proportions. Nearly every university in the country already knew who he was, and it was hard to miss a kid that was that tall and that talented. University coaches were a common sight at Power Memorial games. This was a kid who could transform an entire university basketball program, and the hype machine was running at full speed. Even the great Wilt Chamberlain, who was already an NBA superstar at the time, he said this about young Lou, quote, "He is one of the best high school players I've ever seen. He's got the mind and the body," unquote. He was one of the youngest players to ever be selected for the National All-American honors. In fact, at the time, he was only the second sophomore to ever be selected as an All-American after Jerry Lucas, another Hall of Famer. This means that as a 15-year-old, he was already considered one of the top 5 players in the entire country, and he still had 2 more years to go before he finished high school. If Lou Alcindor had grown up during the days of 24-hour sports coverage and social media, he would have been on everybody's feed. Do you remember how when LeBron was still in high school and he made the cover of Sports Illustrated a couple of times, and once was with the caption, "The Chosen One"? He was everywhere, and I can only imagine how much bigger it would have been if Kareem had also grown up in the digital age. Joe Lapchick also thought highly of Lou Alcindor. Lapchick was a Hall of Famer who played in the 1920s and then became a well-known college coach in the 1950s and early 1960s, and he got a chance to see Lou Alcindor and predicted that Lou would be the greatest player of all time. Now, only because he went to high school in the mid-1960s was he able to live a reasonably normal life. The internet and cable TV did not exist yet. Also, his coach protected him. Any university coach that wanted to talk to Lou had to go through Coach Donahue. It was Donahue who would sort through the letters and messages and give only the best and most serious messages to the Alcindor family. If a university tried to contact the Alcindors directly, well, they were automatically out of the running to land Lou as their next great player. So for that sophomore year, Power Memorial went 27-0. Lou averaged 19 points and 16 rebounds per game, and he was blocking shots like Bill Russell. One sports writer said that if Lou had not scored a single point, he would still be the MVP of any game he played in because of his overall impact at all the other facets of the game. Now, this is a good place to take a break, and I'll be right back with the final 2 years of Alcindor's high school career.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
At the Sports History Network, we're all about sports yesteryear, and so we're so pleased to introduce you to Row One, an online memorabilia gallery and shop that brings your sports history to life anywhere. The Row One gallery includes over 5,200 gorgeously reproduced prints of team posters, game program covers, game tickets, advertisements, and more in baseball, pro and college football, pro and college basketball, and more. And any gallery item may be printed in a variety of sizes on wood, metal, canvas, acrylic, or poster paper. And in Row One shop, check out the thousands more of unique items with the retro and historical designs dating back to 1876, including t-shirts, long sleeve shirts, phone cases, mugs, blankets, pillows, towels, and even shower curtains. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com, ROW1, for access to the full Row One catalog and for gallery prints and gift items, plus get a 15% discount off all prints on the Row One Pictorium Gallery with coupon code SHN15. Follow the link on the show notes.
Hello, sports history fans. I'm Ross from the podcast Pigskin Tales. You're about to jump into another thrilling sports history moment, but first, let's dive into today's sponsor, just in time for the holiday season. Introducing Art of Words, the brainchild of word artist Dan Duffy from Philadelphia. Dan meticulously crafts stunning images by handwriting relevant words from some of the greatest sports moments in time. These unique, budget-friendly illustrations are the perfect gift, sparking cherished memories and capturing hearts. Choose from city skylines, sports, history, and musicians to find a piece for everyone. And here's the exciting part. For that sports fanatic in your life, gift them a piece of their favorite team or player's history. Art of Words tells a compelling story. Explore collegiate stadiums, each meticulously crafted with every football victory etched into words. Or venture into baseball stadiums, handwritten with every player from the team's illustrious history. My favorite on the site is Bryce Harper 2021 MVP year. Because I'm a big stats guy, I think that's one of the coolest things ever. Check it out. Don't wait. Order a print today for yourself and your loved one this holiday season. Transform your wall into a gallery of captivating art and surprise your family and friends with a print of their own. Use code SHN15 at artofwords.com for a 15% discount on your order in November and December. Visit Art of Words, where words magically transform into stunning art, evoking cherished memories and touching the hearts of those who you care about. Again, use the code SHN15 for 15% off at artofwords.com.
Welcome back to the show, and let us continue with the high school career of Lou Alcindor. Going into his third year or junior year, Power Memorial was one of the top schools in the country, and most of that was due to Lou Alcindor. As I mentioned in the first half of the episode, Lou Alcindor was both an exceptional athlete and an exceptional talent. He was a quick learner, and he put new moves into his game quickly. Now, in his junior year, the team had trouble finding adequate competition. The team was carrying a 27-game win streak from the year before. Now, early in the season, they set up a game with another powerhouse in DeMatha High School from Washington, D.C., and they played that game at the University of Maryland because they sold a ton of tickets for this thing. The gym at Maryland sat 13,000 spectators, and those tickets were selling for nearly 10 times their face value on the resale market. And DeMatha gave Power Memorial all they could handle. It was a tight back and forth game, but Power Memorial came away with a 63-62 victory. Lou scored 35 points and pulled down 17 rebounds in that game and made believers out of everyone in the crowd. And that win gave them 48 victories in a row. And when the team returned to New York City, well, they ran through the rest of their schedule in dominant fashion. They captured the Catholic City Championship, and Lou was the MVP of the tournament. The school and Lou won every trophy available to them. Many looked at Lou and figured that he was already better than half of the players already playing at the university level, and he still had one more year of high school to go. And this brings us to his final year of high school. He had reached his full height of 7'2" or 218 centimeters. He was stronger, faster, more agile, more coordinated, and an overall better player than he had ever been before. Over 35 schools had already made scholarship offers to Lou, and some schools even took it to the next level by offering Coach Donahue a university coaching position on the condition that he bring Lou with him. Now, Donahue was offended by such offers, but the team was still at the top of its game. They started the season demolishing every team in sight. Yet again, they had scheduled a game against DeMatha High School, and again, it was played in Maryland. Power Memorial had a 71-game winning streak on the line, and Lou had not lost a game in nearly 3 years. Now, just like the year before, the game came down to the wire, but unlike the first time, DeMatha came out on top with a score of 46-43. Lou had 16 points and 14 rebounds, and he blamed himself for the loss. He felt that he had let his teammates, his coach, and his school down. And Coach Donahue had said something to Lou that carried some really rare wisdom not often found in sports. He told Lou that if he were to blame himself completely for the loss, then that means that he's also taking credit for all of the wins. In both cases, he had teammates and a coach that contributed to every one of those games, good or bad. In other words, it was not all on Lou Alcindor, not the wins and not the loss. Now, after the game, Power Memorial returned to New York City and bulldozed their way through the rest of their schedule. They captured every title and trophy just like they did the year before. And again, Lou Alcindor was selected as an All-American. He was one of the very few players to ever be a 3-time All-American as a high school player. He was the most coveted player coming out of high school by a mile. Of course, every coach at the university level is looking for a great player. And if that player also happens to be a great student, well, even better. And it means that the player will not be any trouble academically. And that was definitely true about Lou Alcindor. If social media existed in his day, he would have highlight videos going viral all over the internet, but it was also time for Lou to choose a university. And he had his choices narrowed down to 5 schools: the University of Michigan, Boston College, New York University, St. John's University from New York, and finally UCLA, where Coach John Wooden was waiting for him. Of course, we all know that he went to the West Coast and joined the UCLA Bruins. You know, I love to play the what if game when it comes to basketball history, and I ask myself this question: what if Lou Alcindor was coming out of high school during the era of where players were going straight from high school to the NBA, like Kobe Bryant or LeBron James? Would he have tried to go straight to the NBA out of high school? Of course, it is impossible to say for sure, but I imagine he would have at least considered it. I mean, he certainly was good enough. Of course, being academically minded person that he was, he probably would have gone to UCLA anyway. He had a deep love of history and has written many history books, as well as novels, children's books, memoirs, and a couple of autobiographies. The man produces books almost as quickly as Stephen King, the novelist. Anyway, I hope you can appreciate the kind of attention and pressure that Lou Alcindor experienced as a high school player. It was incredible. He was predicted by nearly everyone to be the greatest player of all time. And he was pretty close. Today, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is in everyone's top 10 list of all-time players. And before Michael Jordan, he was number 1 for many basketball experts. And I cannot imagine having the pressure and all of that attention. And yet, he was able to continue to play well and increase his skill for many years beyond high school. So that does it for today. Join us next time when we share the story of the early professional micro leagues. These were professional leagues from approximately 100 years ago. That's next time on Basketball History 101, part of the Sports History Network, the headquarters of Sports Yesteryear. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com to find out more about this and other sports history podcasts. If you like what you hear, please hit that subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts. And check out our page on Facebook. It's called Basketball History 101 Podcast. There you will find shorter historical posts as well as comments and discussion starters on today's game. I'll also announce there when new episodes come out. I want to thank my producer and editor, Jacob Loayza. Join us each week as we continue to mine the history of basketball for more great stories from the past. Take care and see you soon.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, aka the Football History Dude. And I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, you know, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you got to do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you got to do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.